Most frightening moments don't arrive all at once. They ease in quietly, wrapped in routine. A bell rings, a hallway hums, someone makes an announcement that sounds almost rehearsed. And for a few minutes, everything still feels normal. It's usually later, when you replay small details in your head, that you realize something was wrong long before anyone said it out loud. These are 3 true stories sent in by people who experienced school lockdowns that never felt quite right, even after they ended. This story was sent in by a woman named Lauren. Lauren was in 7th grade in a public middle school in a quiet town. It was the kind of town where most people knew each other, and nothing serious ever seemed to happen. The school reflected that feeling. Teachers sometimes left classroom doors unlocked between periods, and students worried more about pop quizzes than anything else. It felt safe in a way that made you stop paying attention. The morning this happened felt completely normal. Rain tapped softly against the classroom windows, steady and dull. Lockers slammed in the hallways as students rushed to class, their shoes squeaking slightly against the floor. The air inside the building smelled like disinfectant mixed with wet jackets and old paper. Lauren remembers it thinking it was just another boring school day she needed to get through. She was sitting near the middle of the classroom during 2nd period, half listening to the lesson, when the intercom suddenly crackled on. At first, nobody reacted. Announcements happened all the time. Sometimes they were reminders. Sometimes they were schedule changes. The static cleared, and the principal's voice came through, calm and controlled, asking all teachers to initiate a lockdown. There was no explanation. There was no panic in his voice. He didn't rush the words or raise his tone. He said the word lockdown the same way he announced assemblies or early dismissals. Then the intercom clicked off. Lauren's teacher stood up immediately. She walked to the classroom door, locked it, and pulled the blinds halfway down, just like they had practiced during drills. The movement looked automatic, like muscle memory. The lights stayed on. Nothing else changed. For the first few minutes, no one took it seriously. Someone whispered that it was probably another drill. Another student joked quietly about missing a test. A boy in the back laughed a little too loud and got shushed. Lauren felt more annoyed than scared. Lockdowns had always been drills before. This felt no different, at least at first. What slowly changed the mood wasn't anything dramatic. It was the waiting. 10 minutes passed, then 20. The hallway outside their classroom stayed completely silent. No footsteps, no voices, no distant sounds of doors opening or lockers closing. It felt unnatural, like the building itself was holding its breath. Lauren started noticing small details she normally ignored. The hum of the lights overhead, the sound of someone quietly shifting in their chair, the rain against the windows, suddenly louder than before. Every noise inside the room felt too clear. She looked toward the door and noticed her teacher standing beside it with her phone pressed to her ear. She wasn't speaking, she was just listening. Her face looked pale, drained of color in a way Lauren had never seen before. It wasn't panic, it was something more controlled, focused, like she was waiting for information she didn't want to hear. No one was joking anymore. At some point, there was a sound in the hallway. It wasn't loud, it didn't echo. It sounded like something slowly dragging along the lockers, a soft, uneven noise moving closer. The sound traveled down the hall and stopped directly outside our classroom door. Every student froze. Lauren found herself staring at the small rectangular window in the door, half covered by the blind. She expected to see shoes, or at least a shadow moving past, but nothing crossed it. The space beyond the glass stayed empty. Then there was a knock. It was soft. 3 slow taps against the door. No one spoke. No one moved. Lauren could hear her own breathing, shallow and fast, and suddenly felt embarrassed by how loud it sounded. The teacher raised one hand, silently telling everyone to stay back. Her other hand hovered near the light switch, but didn't touch it. The knock came again, slightly harder this time. The sound felt intentional, patient, like whoever was on the other side knew they had time. Then a voice spoke from the hallway. It whispered the teacher's name. The sound of it made Lauren's stomach tighten. The voice wasn't loud. It wasn't angry or scared. It was flat, empty, like someone repeating a word they had practiced saying. Lauren knew immediately she didn't recognize it. The teacher didn't respond. She slowly stepped away from the door and motioned for the class to move toward the far wall. Chairs scraped softly against the floor as students obeyed, trying to stay quiet. Someone's shoe squeaked again, and everyone froze. The voice didn't speak anymore. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the dragging sound returned, slow, fading, moving farther down the hall until it disappeared completely. The silence afterwards felt heavier than before. No one moved for a long time. Lauren didn't know how long it was. Minutes felt stretched and distorted. She kept staring at the door, expecting the handle to turn or the knock to come back. Eventually, nearly an hour after the announcement, the intercom came back on. The same calm voice declared the lockdown over and instructed teachers to resume classes as normal. The room didn't move right away. Later that day, administrators told students there had been a miscommunication involving a substitute teacher who wandered the halls during a drill and caused confusion. They said there was never any danger. No further details were given. Lauren went home that afternoon feeling unsettled in a way she couldn't explain. She never forgot how that voice sounded when it said her teacher's name, and she never understood how someone she didn't recognize knew it at all. This one was sent in by a man named Carlos. Carlos was a junior at a large suburban high school. The campus was spread out across several buildings, connected by outdoor walkways and wide hallways. During passing periods, it always felt busy and loud. Students moved in groups. Teachers stood outside their doors. Nothing ever felt hidden or quiet for long. Lockdowns weren't unheard of at his school. They happened occasionally, but they were always drills. Students were warned ahead of time. Teachers explained what to expect. Everyone knew it wasn't real, and no one ever took them seriously. This one wasn't like that. Carlos was in the library when it happened. He was sitting at a long table near the back, headphones in, music playing quietly while he worked on a paper. The library felt calm and normal. A few students typed on laptops. Others flipped pages or rested their heads on their arms. The librarian sat behind her desk, scrolling through something on her computer. Without warning, the librarian stood up. She told everyone to get down under the tables. Her voice wasn't calm. It was sharp and tight, like she was trying to keep it from shaking. That alone made Carlos pull his headphones off. Before anyone could ask what was going on, the announcement came over the speakers. Lockdown. Immediate. No extra instructions, no reassurance, just those two words spoken quickly before the system clicked off. Everything happened at once. Chairs scraped loudly against the floor, books thudded as students dropped them. Tables shifted as people crawled underneath. Someone knocked over a backpack and papers spilled across the carpet. The librarian rushed to the light switch and turned everything off. The library sank into darkness. Only the exit signs remained lit, glowing faintly red and green. The shadows between the tall bookshelves felt deeper than they should have been. The familiar space suddenly felt tight and unfamiliar. Carlos crawled between two shelves with 3 other students. They pressed themselves against the carpet, backs against the wood, trying to make themselves as small as possible. No one spoke. No one looked at each other. One student kept refreshing their phone, trying to load messages or alerts. The screen stayed blank. No signal, no updates, nothing. That was when Carlos realized something else felt wrong. There were sounds outside. During drills, the hallways always went quiet. This time, they didn't. Carlos could hear doors slamming in the distance, footsteps running across tile, someone shouting something he couldn't make out, followed by sudden silence. His heart started beating faster. Then he noticed the security radio. The librarian had left it on the desk when she rushed to lock the doors. The volume was turned up. It crackled constantly with overlapping voices. None of them sounded calm. They talked over each other. Instructions were repeated, words cut in and out. Carlos caught fragments. Unknown individual. Last seen near the science building. Can't locate. Moving again. The radio made the situation feel real in a way nothing else had yet. Then, without warning, it went quiet. No static, no voices, just silence. The absence of sound felt worse than the noise had. A few minutes later, Carlos heard footsteps approaching the library. They were slow, heavy, measured. Each step sounded deliberate, like whoever it was wasn't in a hurry. The footsteps stopped directly outside the library doors. Carlos held his breath without realizing it. Someone tried the handle. It moved once, then again. What made Carlos uneasy wasn't the sound itself. It was the fact that whoever was outside didn't say anything. No announcement, no instructions, no voice asking for help or identifying themselves. Just the handle being tested, calmly. A loud bang suddenly hit the door. The glass rattled violently. One of the students near Carlos pressed their face into their arms and started crying silently, shoulders shaking. No one tried to comfort them. Everyone stayed frozen in place. Carlos stared at the doors, waiting for another hit. It didn't come. Instead, the footsteps slowly backed away. They didn't rush. They didn't run. They moved off down the hallway at the same steady pace they had arrived. The waiting afterwards felt endless. Carlos lost track of time completely. His legs went numb. His arms started to ache from holding himself still. Every small noise made his stomach tighten. A cough, a shifting backpack, someone breathing too fast in the dark. At one point, Carlos became aware of how quiet the building had become again. No footsteps, no voices, just the faint hum of electricity and the occasional creak of the shelves. Nearly 2 hours later, the announcement finally came that the lockdown was over. The lights came back on slowly. The room felt unfamiliar, too bright, too open. No one moved right away. People just looked around, blinking, like they needed time to remember where they were. Later that day, administrators told students there had been reports of someone on campus who didn't belong there, someone who had been moving between buildings and avoiding cameras. They said no one was hurt, no one was ever found. Classes resumed.
The day continued. But what stayed with Carlos wasn't the bang on the door. It was how confidently whoever it was had tried the handle, like they already knew which rooms were occupied.
This final story was sent in by a woman named Megan. Megan was attending a small community college and taking a late evening class. It wasn't a large campus. Most of the buildings were low and spread out, connected by long hallways and quiet outdoor paths. During the day, it felt normal and busy. At night, it felt almost empty. That evening, there were only about 15 students in the classroom. Everyone was spaced out, sitting quietly with laptops or notebooks open. The professor spoke in a steady, relaxed voice, moving through the lecture at an unhurried pace. Outside the windows, the sky was already dark, and the campus lights cast long shadows across the ground. Nothing about the situation felt unusual. Megan remembers feeling tired but calm, waiting for the class to end so she could go home. The room felt quiet in a comfortable way, the kind of quiet that made it easy to stop paying attention. About 40 minutes into the lecture, the lights flickered. It was quick, just a brief interruption, like a power issue. The professor stopped mid-sentence and looked up toward the ceiling. A few students glanced around. Someone shifted in their seat. No one reacted strongly. Then the emergency system activated. A calm, automated voice instructed everyone to lock down and shelter in place. The words didn't sound urgent, but they were clear. There was no panic, just confusion. The professor stood up immediately. He walked to the classroom door, locked it, and told everyone to remain seated and stay quiet. His voice stayed controlled, but Megan noticed it was lower than before, more serious. He turned off the main lights, leaving only a small desk lamp on near the front of the room. Outside, the hallway lights shut off automatically. The narrow rectangular window in the classroom door filled with darkness. That was when the room began to feel different. Megan sat still, hands resting on her desk, listening to the sounds around her. The hum of the ventilation system felt louder than before. Someone a few seats away cleared their throat quietly, then went still again. No one spoke. Minutes passed. Megan wasn't sure how many. Time felt stretched, like it was moving slower than normal. She caught herself staring at the door without realizing it. The dark window reflected faint shapes of desks and people inside the room. Then, the motion sensor lights in the hallway turned on. The sudden glow made several students tense. Footsteps followed. They were slow and deliberate, close enough that Megan could hear them clearly through the door. Whoever it was walked past the classroom at a steady pace, not rushed, not hesitant. Megan felt her breathing change. She tried to slow it down without making noise. The footsteps stopped directly outside the door. The room went completely still. Then Megan heard breathing. It was faint but clear, slow, controlled, close enough that it sounded like the person was standing right up against the glass. It didn't sound scared or rushed. It sounded calm, too calm. The breathing continued. Megan felt her heart beating harder in her chest. Each second felt longer than the last. She stared at the window, waiting for the hallway light to turn off again. Instead, a shadow leaned into view. It blocked out what little light remained in the hallway. The shape was unmistakable, the outline of a head and shoulders, close enough to the glass to fill the entire window. Megan couldn't see a face, just the dark shape, perfectly still.
The breathing continued for several seconds. No one in the classroom moved. The professor stood near the door, frozen in place. Megan could hear someone crying a few rows behind her. No one tried to comfort them. Then the shadow slowly pulled back. The footsteps resumed, fading down the hallway until they disappeared completely. The hallway light turned off again. The darkness returned. No one spoke for a long time. Eventually, the emergency system announced that the lockdown had ended. The lights came back on gradually, filling the room with a brightness that felt wrong after so much darkness. People shifted in their seats, blinking, looking around as if waking up. No one rushed to leave. Everyone moved slowly, quietly. Later that night, campus police told students that a former student had been seen inside one of the buildings after hours. They said the person was not authorized to be there. No further details were given. They never confirmed which building it happened in. Megan went home feeling unsettled. In the weeks that followed, she noticed she always checked the hallway before entering night classes. She paid attention to footsteps, to lights turning on unexpectedly. What stayed with her wasn't the lockdown announcement. It was how close the breathing sounded, and how whoever it was seemed to know exactly which classroom to stop at.